Blood on the markets once again, and no surprise that Greece again is in the epicenter of all of this. A bit of positive rhetoric perhaps out of Ben Bernanke a short while ago. Seems that he could be taking further steps going forward should the economy require assistance. What do you make of all this volatility? Is it time for opportunity or time for caution?
Well, look, I would say that probably the time for caution was a couple of months ago. So I think right now, there are certainly some opportunities that are opening up. Certain areas of the market still look relatively expensive to us, especially most of the SA kind of industrial related shares. But I think in rand terms, there's a fair bit of downside still in our market. In dollar terms, certainly more so. And I think, the rand has certainly weakened, but I think it's basically a change of trend. I think there could be more to come, and I think we mustn't lose sight of the fact that our market has been a major beneficiary of emerging market inflows and the weaker dollar. And as money gets kind of repatriated back to the US markets, or like emerging markets, and certainly our market will definitely take a hit. So short term still, I think, fairly cautious, but there are certainly, I think, certain gaps opening up for long-term investors.
Well, let's just touch on some of the stories out in South Africa today. Metarex, I think investors were quite relieved about the fact that the deal with Giokos seems to be doing its paces and seems to be concluded going forward. We had a bit of an update from the company yesterday. We know that a lot of media coverage has created quite a bit of negativity. What is your sense with regards to Metarex? Because eventually going into positive territory today.
Yeah, no, definitely so. I think at one point yesterday the share price was down over 10%, and the offer for the takeout is roughly about R8.90. So from R7.80 where it's trading currently, there's still about 14% in it. Look, I think all seems to be going according to plan. I know that they still require mainland approval in China, which seems to be only a matter of time, and then hopefully investors should get their money in the first week of December. There has certainly been a lot of noise, especially around the assets in Zambia, where maybe the new president is not that keen to sell local assets to like Chinese investors. Whether that's true or not, I can't really comment, but I think with all of these type of deals, there is always the probability that it might not go through. But I think risk adjusted, there seems to be I think a fair amount of upside in it, by not taking like too much risk. So we think that the transaction will go through, and investors must just be patient. Unfortunately, if it doesn't, your downside is fairly significant, because given a 30% drop in the copper price, by our estimates, Metarex will probably fall to somewhere between R4 and R5. So it's certainly probably not for the faint-hearted, but all seems relatively safe for now.
Significantly yesterday, it's down around 3.7% in today's session, Rhynaardt, and also has aspirations to list on the Toronto Stock Exchange by the second quarter of next year. Would you say that this is a stock where we could find quite a bit of value and opportunity?
Look, it's also one of those companies that have done very well, and I think certainly relative to the commodity or resource peer group, it is definitely outperformed. I think the listing that they're talking about is more the Tronox company that they've kind of recently taken a stake in. So it's not the whole of Exxaro, to my knowledge. So we do like the company, but we think that the latest transaction is probably not the greatest one for shareholders. We think that they're selling out of their mineral sands assets perhaps a little bit too early. So we would, I think, just prefer to kind of sit back and wait and see. Secondly, a substantial portion of earnings of the greater Exxaro business still comes from iron ore, about 50%, and that is really the one commodity price that hasn't really fallen, and we are very, very cautious on like the price of iron ore over the next couple of weeks or months, basically. So it's probably one where we'll take a step back and say it has done very, very well, but I think it's perhaps time to take a little bit off the table there.